When you started this lecture, I'm pretty sure you probably went, what in the world is Chris talking about? This is going to be about how to become a professional stalker. And this is kind of my specialty when it comes to LinkedIn. The way I like to think of this, and there's a few ways to do it, is when you're going into a conversation with a prospect or a client or a new lead, you want to know as much as you possibly can about them before you ever go to that meeting. The reason you need to do this is not so that you can really scare them and tell them everything, but you can actually guide the conversation into a path that you know they're going to be willing to go down. So let me give you an example. Let's look for someone, and we'll pick a company out of nowhere. Let's do Apple. Okay? So say I want to pick this company, and I'm trying to get an in into Apple, and all I want is an introduction through someone in their marketing department. Okay, does that make a little bit of sense? So that's what we're going to start off with doing. And I'm going to look over here on how you're connected. I'm going to hit see all. So I'm going to find out that Jenna, which I worked for, and then Marcus, who was fantastic, um, these people I'm going to look at and find out which one I'm trying to get in with. I know since Apple is located out in Cupertino, I'm looking for someone in the California area if I want to get in their corporate headquarters. Because everybody else is going to go remotely, most likely. So if I'm looking here, I'm going to see that maybe there's no one on that page. And I'm going to see, okay, I like to do online courses. I want to talk with Randy Nelson, who is the director of the Apple University. First of all, I can click and see that Brad King, which was a professor of mine at Ball State, is one of my connections there, so that may be a great introduction. But if not, I can click on him. And we're going to see some basics. We're going to see his summary. We're going to see everything. He has selected that it's up and running and ready to go. So what I would do is I would start off by looking at his information. And I'd read his summary. I'd try to find um, parts that interact with mine. So say he has that connection with Brad King. Say that he went and likes to perform music. Say that he is good at Final Cut Pro and I really love to teach that stuff. This juggling may be a really cool thing to talk about. Santa Clara, I didn't go there, maybe I know someone who did. Then I can read down through his recommendations just to kind of see what kind of person he is and what kind of people everybody else tells you he is. So that's kind of how I use this to stalk him. So before I ever go into a conversation, I know there are 5 or 6 trigger points that I can turn a conversation in that direct them into opening up a little bit and not feeling that kind of awkwardness of a sales call. So what I do, and I'll show one of my good friends that I just met with, Tony Valley. And what I did with him was I ended up, and you can see this when I show you below, this is the LinkedIn contacts. This is what it does. It tracks everything. I connected here. I emailed him back and forth. I can check how I've met, all of that. And I can add these notes in. So I met with Tony, and there wasn't a ton on his page, and that's completely fine. But I was able to find out he went to IU, and seeing that he was part of Toastmasters, that pretty much tells me in this area that he was a member of Rainmakers at one point. And then I was able to go down here and see who I had connections with and follow some other things. So when I went into this meeting, I knew a little bit about Tony. And I wasn't being creepy or anything, but I let him say, Tony, I saw on your LinkedIn profile that you used to do a little web design. Our company does that. Do you have any tips or tricks you'd like to tell me? And then we got off on a tangent and talked about that for a little bit, but he started opening up, and we ended up having a fantastic conversation. Loved the guy to death, and I recommend him for anybody that's looking for IT help. But it was really kind of cool because I could use this information to help direct my conversations. So becoming that professional stalker is really kind of a good thing. It's not that you're going to say, hey, I noticed that you went to IU and you did this, and I studied you like I was doing a test. That's not it at all. What we're looking to do is find relevant information, just like as if you were writing an email, that would make this cold call or cold meeting or cold email a little bit warmer. That little bit that kind of sets you apart from someone else. If I say, hey, I saw that you were a Ball State grad, or I just went to an IU game, and I was talking about this with him, and told him I was in the third row, and we ended up talking about how he never got to sit down that low, but he loved the games. So those little things open up that conversation. And in my view of sales, and I'm going to be doing a few sales courses as well, to creating those, I always like to have that relationship selling portion of it. I find that people buy from people, not from companies. So if I'm going to be buying a service, I'm going to find the person I'm the best friends with and who I think is going to do the best job. So that's the way I sell as well. So this is how to use LinkedIn to kind of be that professional stalker piece, and that's how to integrate it into your calls, your LinkedIn messages, your emails, and even your meetings.